Hey, this is Bart from Highway Blues Guitars, and this is part 2 about making laminated headstock. I showed you in the last video how to make a scarf joint so that it takes the neck and puts it at an angle like this, okay? And well, you can see the joint right there. Sorry, it's backwards in here, right there. And this is, well, this is pretty. This one is stained with some black walnuts. It's red oak and super functional. I don't think it looks as nice as some of these other designs. These are from a template, this shape that I got from CB Giddy. And so you can see it's that scarf joint, but it's got some other contrasting pieces of wood on it. Here's another couple examples. This one is a poplar neck with a red oak fretboard, okay? But then it's got some mahogany and some other woods. Where I get my contrasting woods is from Hobby Lobby. For like 10 bucks you can get wood scraps because you just need little pieces of them. So I'm going to show you today how to do that. Next we'll go to the shop. In my last video I was showing you how to make this scarf joint, okay, and now the glue is dried. This is the amount of time that I put into it. So far, besides gathering the materials and everything, I've got 5 minutes and 30 seconds for cutting and gluing this joint. I say that because I'm just trying to show how long all this takes. So now I'll take the clamps off. It's been 24 hours and this is what I have. I have some excess glue on here that I'm going to need to get rid of because I'm going to be adding some layers of wood on here. So you need this to stay perfectly flat, and I have this leveling beam that I use for leveling my necks and my fretboards, and it's got sticky sandpaper on it. In this case it's 160 grit. So I'm going to put this on the floor, and then I'm going to sand this back and forth until that comes off. Alright, so I'm going to reset my timer just so that I can be honest with how long this takes, and then I'll get back with you once it is all ready to get glued up. So now this is what I have. These surfaces are just wood. All the excess glue has been sanded off, and look how nice that joint is. Okay, now the clock says 9:05, so subtract from 5:30, so that took me 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes of sanding. If you don't have a sanding block like this that I have, then I've had good luck just using the sidewalk and just going along on that and just bearing down on this surface here. So the next step is I'm going to get a template and I'm going to outline that and then glue some wood on. I'll show you that in a second. I've got some wood bits and pieces, these little scraps. I know this one is Purple Heart. I don't know what else. You got to be wary. The people that sold me this, I see that there's a glue line in it, and this had ripped off, and they just glued it back together and sold it to me. But that's okay. You know, I probably paid $1 for it. So I'll be sawing off little strips of these. This is pretty red, some kind of redwood. It's really soft, but it's pretty. I know this is a piece of poplar. It's nothing special except it's just light and provides some contrast. And this might be walnut or something like that. Anyhow, I'm going to saw little strips of these parallel to the grain, and then I will sand them on both sides so that they have a good glue joint. And so you don't really need to see me with my pull saw in the vise, but I will time it so you can see how long that takes. A clear template. I've got some tape on it because I kept losing. This is made by CB Giddy Crafter Supply, and they sell them by the set I've got a whole bunch of other ones, but this is my favorite. So I will lay it down on here and trace it out. And then I can see where I need to put my laminates. So these first two are going to have to be pretty long. That one's pretty good. I don't like to waste wood. But also I'm seeing that that's not really enough of a contrast of color. And so I'm going to put a very thin piece of walnut on there. And then on the other side, this seems way harder than walnut, but I'll put a piece on there. And most of the time I can glue all these laminates on together, but I'm worried that there might be a little warpage or my sanding job isn't perfect, and so I'm going to glue them on two at a time. So again, I'm using Tight Bond, and lately I've been using Tight Bond Original, but I think I will go back to Tight Bond 2 because it's more weather resistant. And I'll do it one side at a time. Glue makes the wood really slippery, so it's kind of awkward to clamp it. So I have to clamp it and then adjust it. Here we have all the laminates gluing on there. I think this may be a really bad idea, but I'm taking you outside so I can grind this flat with my angle grinder, but I don't want to get sawdust all over my computer, so I'm going to put it in a bag and then punch a hole in it for the lens. So here it goes. Maybe not. Now, safety first. Got to put respirator on. Ear protection on. Safety goggles on. I'm pretty sure that was a really bad idea, just seeing all the dust. Oops. Just broke my friggin'... Yeah, that's a really bad idea. I broke my... Safety goggles. Maybe I can fix them. Yeah, I can fix them. Okay. Judging from how cloudy the picture got, it's probably a bad idea to try to angle grind all the sawdust. So we'll take this back inside. But here's what I've got so far. I've got it at least down on the same plane, and now I can draw it out with my template. I really should get a camera person to help out. Now I can put this on here and draw my shape a little more accurately. The next step is I will drill the holes for the tuners before I grind this all out, just to keep those holes from blowing out. So I'll show you that in a second. So here is my setup with my drill press going, and I have to clamp the headstock so that it won't wiggle when I drill this hole. I go very slowly so I don't have blowout. So that's one. You get the idea. I'll come back after I've done the next two. Show you the next step. This is so archaic with the computer. I have drilled out the holes for my 3 tuners. And then because I'm just using an angle grinder on this, it's important to keep it all in the same plane. And so I just do that by eye. I'm not using a caliper. But I also take a tuner and I fit it in as I'm grinding this down to make sure that it fits flush on the back. Okay, so I'm going to go out and do that and touch that all up. And you can see I've got the outline drawn on here from my headstock, and I'll be back in a minute. This is what we have so far, and I used the a belt sander, a drum sander, to take those all down into the same plane. And now, because I've got these curves here, I'm going to use a little drum sander on my drill press. Let's see. Like this. But I can't really do it and hold this, so you'll just have to imagine what I'm doing. Like this. Okay. I'll show you after it's done. Okay. Whew. So, there it is. A finished headstock. Took a bit of time to do that, so I hope that you enjoyed that. Okay, well, there are a couple times that I forgot to start it and stop it, but we're looking at 40 minutes. Probably I should add another 10 on that, say 45 minutes of sanding, and we're not going to count waiting for glue to dry. So not too bad, an hour of labor to get this, and I think it adds a lot of value to your guitar and certainly a lot of satisfaction. So next step will be gluing on another piece onto the bottom to reinforce this neck, because we're going to lose possibly a lot of this neck as it goes through the box for where we put the pickup. So that'll be the next video.